makes sense, right? Like I said, it didn't happen. Nothing was never anywhere. That's why it's been so.
Check, check. Hello.
That's how every it gets.
Hey, William, I hear you.
Forget this. I want to be something.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am, Miss Cole.
I'm trying to start early. Just want to make sure.
Gotcha. I hear you. Hear you fine.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good evening, Aaron and William. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Thank you for logging on early. I
Mhm.
just wanted to check to make sure I can pull up my PowerPoint. Can I share screen?
Indeed.
Okay, let's see. I always have to practice this because I'm really sure. I gotta go to Zoom first. I go back to slideshow. Are you seeing the beginning now, the opening? Can you
Yes.
see? Okay. Actually, I think that's actually the incorrect.
You just stopped sharing. Did you mean to?
Yes, I did, in fact, because I realized this is not this was a first draft and there's a second draft. So let me go to that. That's on my Google Drive.
Okay.
Always glad I log in early and practice because it's sometimes difficult. Let's see, I gotta find the other version.
Aaron, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna try to share screen again, Aaron, to make sure I have the correct one.
Okay.
I need to, there we go. Are you guys seeing that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Well, you know what, though? It's not changing slides. I wonder what.
You're viewing it from within.
Okay.
You'll have to scroll up and down.
Oh, I'll have to scroll up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try that again.
In order to put it into PowerPoint, you'd have to download that
Oh, okay.
right here in the upper upper right corner. You have the one arrow with the line. You hit that and it'll download.
Download as PowerPoint.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, it won't let me do that.
Well, it's already gonna be in PowerPoint format. I'm pretty sure. Let's try it and see.
Just download to my desktop and see if that works.
Well, I mean, this document is a PDF, so
Yeah, it's not going to save as PowerPoint.
Oh,
That's okay. I can go back and I've got the other one I can edit real quick. I'm going to stop share. Turn my microphone off. William, can you see that now?
Yes, ma'am, I can see your screen.
And the slides are scrolling, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
No, doesn't.
Okay. I'm gonna let you.
They letting it, this Eddie, you need to say, can you hear me, Bob? Wait just a minute.
Yes, I can hear you, Helen.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Murphy.
Yes, sir.
We got about 2 minutes. Are we pretty much set up?
You ready I'm ready when you are.
Welcome to the virtual special board meeting of the Bay City ISD Board of Trustees. This is Thursday, July 30, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Abbott's temporary suspension of open meetings laws issued on March 16, 2020, and consistent with new state and local mandates on public health and social distancing, this special meeting of the Bay City ISD Board of Trustees will be conducted via Zoom, which will be audible to the board and public at the link provided at the top of the agenda notice. A quorum of the Board of Trustees will not be physically present at one location, and for safety reasons, we will not be permitting in-person attendance by members of the public and staff. Public was given the opportunity to submit comments through email to our administrative assistant, Linda Estrada, at the administration building. And currently we have none to report. This meeting's now called to order. We'll take roll, voice roll. Klepak here. Cole.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Nelson. Nelson. I think he's here. Coach, do you have your mic on?
I
Here,
think so here.
Oh, there you go. DeWitt. I think DeWitt's going to be absent tonight. Scardamine.
Here.
Kennan.
Here.
Okay, so we do have a quorum in attendance with 6 trustees at this meeting. So we'll move to item 2, consider and take possible action regarding return to school plan, including implementation of health and safety rules. Ms. Moya.
Lisa, you're still muted.
I'm sorry, thank you. I will be sharing the results of the survey that you requested at the last board meeting last week. So let's see. Mr. Scardamai, can you see that PowerPoint? Is that working? Okay, thank you. Okay, so at our last meeting, board members requested that we survey actually parents and staff. And so for PK and kinder teachers and paraprofessionals, 41 of our professionals that work just with PK and kinder responded. And you can see the results in this graph. The blue, 39% were in favor of masks for pre-K and kinder, 39% were not in favor, and 22% were undecided. Oops. For grade 1 and 2, we had 43 teachers and paraprofessionals that responded, and the results were very similar, 39 in favor, 39% not in favor, and 22% undecided. The results changed considerably when we look at grade 3 and 4 teachers and paraprofessionals. We had 30 respond, and 80% actually were in favor of students wearing masks. 10% were not in favor, and 10% undecided. So next we'll look at, we did our parent survey both in English and in Spanish. So for grade PK and K, we had 163 parents respond. The results were 35% in favor, 46% not in favor, and 19% undecided. For grade 1 and 2, we had 193 parents respond, with 44% in favor, 37% not in favor, and 19% undecided. And then in grade 3 and 4, we had 154 parents respond, and similar to the staff, the percent in favor grows as we go to the grade 3 and 4. We had 54% in favor, 36% not in favor, and 10% undecided. When we look at the results in Spanish, they are just a little bit different. For grade pre-K and K, we had 30 parents respond. 57% of those were in favor of masks, 13% not in favor, and 30% undecided. For grade 1 and 2, you'll see that number grows 66% in favor, 17% not in favor, and 17% undecided. And then as we go to grade 3 and 4, we had 35 Spanish-speaking parents respond. 60% were in favor, 23% not in favor, and 17% undecided. So taking those results and giving you a total for all of our parents, English and Spanish surveys combined, we had 193 pre-KK, and you can see the results, 39% in favor, 41% not in favor, 20% undecided. For grade 1 and 2, that was a total of 222 surveys completed, 46% in favor, 35% not in favor, and 19% undecided. And then finally, parent surveys for the total in grade 3 and 4 was 189 responses, with 54% in favor, 34% not in favor, and 12% undecided. And that concludes the data that we collected for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moy. Is there any discussion? Trustee Tennant, I see you're there. Did you have something you wanted to present?
If y'all allow me, I'd like to share my screen just to present the data in just a little bit different way, I guess. I mean, I'm an accountant, so I like to look at the actual numbers behind the percentages. So if you give me a second, I'll share my screen. I got just a couple slides just to go through a couple things. Let's see. Can y'all see this yet?
I do.
All right. Like I said, I mean, I just look at, I guess, the data a little bit different way. And I guess here's my way, I guess, if y'all want to kind of look at it a little bit different. So at Cherry, there are 355 students enrolled. So that's a response rate of about 54% of our students. According to the staff graph, they are equally divided at Cherry with 9 undecided. On the parent graph, 4 more parents were not in favor of masks and 39 were undecided. So just instead of the percentages, just kind of gives you a look at the actual numbers. Let's see. So at Lenny Roberts, they have 576 students enrolled with a 38% response rate. The staff is equally divided with 9 undecided. On the parent graph, 24 more parents are in favor of masking. So at Tenny Holmes, there are 531 students enrolled in 3rd and 4th grade. They had a parent survey response rate of only 36%. And on the staff graph, 21 more staff were in favor of masking. On the parent graph, 38 more parents were in favor of masking with 23 undecided. So I know that parents will be having some tough conversations probably after we make this vote tonight. And so I just wanted to kind of put out there, these are the choices that they're going to have to consider. For the parents that are in favor of wearing a mask, I mean, I guess basically, you know, if the vote is to wear masks for kids under 10, then they don't have to make any choice at all. I mean, basically face-to-face, virtual, homeschool, whatever they want to do, it will be available. For the parents that don't want to have their kids to wear a mask, if we require children under the age of 10, of course, the face-to-face will not be an option for them. And then, virtual, they can choose virtual, I guess, transfer their children out of the district if they wanted to, or homeschool. But then there's also parents that don't want their kids to wear a mask and both their parents are at work. And so basically, we're leaving these parents with a decision of they can't do face-to-face, they can't do virtual, they can't do homeschool. And so really, we're not leaving them with much of a decision here other than, maybe transferring their kid out of the district to all the districts around us that aren't requiring their children under 10 to wear a mask. And I just think that's a tough spot to put parents in as far as if, for a decision that we're making that is not mandated by the governor. So the staff survey revealed that some of our teachers are concerned about students not wearing masks. I acknowledge your concern and I want you to feel safe at school, of course. And so basically here's what we know from the studies that have been done on off the CDC website. So according to the CDC, adults make up approximately 95% of COVID-19 cases. According to the CDC, the majority of children with COVID-19 were infected by a family member. According to the CDC, children under the age of 10 appear to not transmit the virus very well and actually had the lowest transmission rates of any age group. A recent report out of Sweden demonstrates that school staff are not more likely than other occupations to contract COVID-19. And according to Mark Woolhouse, the chair of infectious disease and epidemiology, professor at the University of Edinburgh, said as of July 22nd, 2020, there has been no recorded cases of a teacher catching COVID-19 from a pupil anywhere in the world. Let's see. So if for some reason, if we did vote to not force the kids that are under the age of 10 to not wear a mask, I just wanted to throw out here just a potential solution for the teachers that, maybe the facts that I just stated, maybe they're still uneasy about the kids not wearing masks. It's just a solution that maybe we could pair teachers that are in favor of masks with students that were in favor of masks and, do the opposite for the ones that aren't in favor. Let's see. So in closing, really, I just want to say that when I took this office, I made an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And I take that oath very seriously. I cannot, with any good measure of faith, supersede the governor's order and infringe on individual liberties. And parents should have a right to choose for themselves. And that was my two cents on that. Let's see how I get back out of here now.
Okay. I'd just like to also make a quick point just to kind of add to what Trent said. And I'm surprised at how many parents and staff actually don't want kids to wear masks. I mean, I really thought that number was going to be lower. And so the fact that a majority of parents who responded don't want pre-K and K students wearing a mask just shows, exactly why they shouldn't be. The other thing that kind of skews the data a little bit is the parents who don't want kids to wear a mask. Some of those parents are actually already keeping their kids home, but they're getting a vote, right? And so their kids aren't even going to the school at all, but they voted that kids shouldn't be in favor of wearing a mask. So I would even submit that the numbers are even more leaning towards pre-KK 1 and 2 not wearing a mask. The 3 and 4, obviously you start getting into the older kids and you start to see that the numbers are rising as who's in favor of them wearing a mask. So.
Anybody else? I'm just wondering, what are we trying to do here? To me, when we go back to in person, to me, we need to do everything possible to keep our staff and our kids as safe as possible. And the mask or face coverings, face shield, whatever you want to call it, is just another tool that we have to do that. So I really don't understand what the discussion here is. I know there's a lot of statistics out there. You can look at this thing several different ways. You know, we've heard from the World Health Organization, the CDC, et cetera. And we've seen a lot of statistics, but the one statistic that concerns me is the child or the teacher or staff member that gets contaminated with this coronavirus because we didn't put everything in place that we had available to us. That's my big concern on this whole thing.
Well, I mean, just to jump in too, I mean, I haven't seen any scientific evidence that proves that masking kids under the age of 10 is going to be beneficial. I mean, I know we keep saying it's better to be safe than sorry, but you know, there's also, you have to think about, you know, there is evidence of the harmful effects, you know, that are documented for kids that are masking, as far as lack of oxygen and, you know, breathing in their own, you know, carbon dioxide and that kind of thing. I mean, that is documented. It's scientific. So, I mean, for me, I mean, I feel like there's no way I can make a decision and feel good about it if there's no science to back that decision. You know, sometimes you think you're doing good, but we may be doing more harm than good as far as masking these younger kids.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Go ahead. Yeah. So my concern is we just saw a good example of that with the guy that died from going to that political rally. Didn't have a mask on and that whole lot, and now they're having a funeral for that guy. That's one deal. So yes, we are in a situation that none of us have ever been in. And so I definitely want to err on the side of caution. It's number one. Number two, I understand that parents have a voice in this, a great voice, right? But also those ladies and gentlemen that are in the classroom with those children, they have a voice and they have a concern as well. So maybe those children are not contacting COVID at the rate that adults are getting the COVID or suffering the same symptoms that adults are getting when they get COVID. But to me, that's not an excuse enough for me to feel comfortable with having a school teacher actually have their life on the line. Because if a little child does have coronavirus and be transmitted to one of those adult school teachers or staff at one of the schools, it's not like COVID got a kiddie version. COVID is COVID. And those people are faced with life and death situations. So we talk about being inconvenienced, and I've been looking at some of the information that's been put out. I've been reading some of the emails, and we talking about a rash on the face, and we talking about a lack of carbon dioxide, and lack of oxygen, and we talking about all this type of stuff. I want us to stay reminded. We got the big picture. You all right, Jane? Looking at the big picture, and just remember, not so long ago, we didn't know if our kids were going to get shot in the schoolhouse, and we didn't have this kind of conversation. We had safety drills like hide behind the door, put a stick behind the door, throw your eraser or something at the bad guy. And what are we going to do to arm the teacher and all this type stuff? Now we're talking about a simple face covering. If that is going to allow a school teacher to feel safer in the classroom, and Trent, I understand where you come from. I appreciate some of that information that you presented, right? And for lack of better terms, to me, it's like tying a rattlesnake around your neck to keep the mice away.
So, yeah, the example you gave, I guess, are you talking about Herman Cain today, that passed away? Is that who you're talking about? Yeah, so, I mean, so first of all, Herman Cain is, I think he's 70 something years old. And we're talking about masking kids that are under 10. And then, you know, science shows there's no, you know, like I read on the slide, there's no data to show that any child has ever given COVID to an adult. And, you know, you talk about people's voices being heard. Well, what about those parents that don't want to put a mask on their kid? What, their voice doesn't matter?
Yes, their voice matters. That's number one. Number two, it don't matter if Herman Cain was 75, 25, or 5 years old. Man got sick. That's a human being. That's a life that died. If a child gives a school teacher, COVID, that school teacher is going to suffer the effects of that virus.
Right, but we're talking about something that has been proven to have never happened yet.
That's where you're wrong at. Children have contacted this virus.
Okay.
I've been on the CDC website myself.
The CDC website will not tell you that a child has given an adult COVID.
No, that children have it.
Oh, I didn't say children don't have it. I said there's never been a time when a child has given COVID to an adult.
To be safe for our for the safety of our employees. What's the biggest fear? That if they wear the mask, they could protect, or if they don't wear the mask, what's the biggest issue, Trent? That's what I would like to know.
Some of my biggest issues are basically just the negative, harmful effects it's going to be for a child to wear a mask.
Okay.
Physically,
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We've never been here before. Never. So everything is almost like trial and error.
Right, but there's been lots of studies done to show that when you restrict the child's oxygen the way the masks do, that it does affect their brain, you know, because the kid's brain is developing and needs oxygen. And not only just the medical part of it, I mean, just think about, you know, the emotional part of it for some of these kids. Some of these kids, you know, have anxiety or whatever. I mean, putting a mask on these kids is going to be
But
crazy.
also the emotional part for the teachers, the emotional for those adults too.
Right, the adults will be wearing masks. There's no doubt about that. That's a mandate from the governor. But as far as the kids go, it's just, and then we haven't even talked about the teachers trying to you know, police these kids wearing masks. I mean, that's a whole nother issue. I mean, they're going to be spending half the class trying to get these masks on these kids instead of leading instruction. I mean, that's crazy.
Okay, but to my understanding,
you don't know that. You're making assumptions. You don't know what they're going to spend half the classroom doing. You don't know.
I'm not making assumptions. I have 3 kids under the age of 10. I'm not making assumptions. I'm stating facts.
Okay, and I have 3 grandkids under the age of 10, and I would like for them to wear a mask, not only for their safety,
and
the teacher's safety.
And you know what? We'll encourage those kids to wear masks.
And for my safety. But also what I'm saying is, if you are a pre-K teacher or a kindergarten teacher, assuming, yes, there's going to be an issue with them keeping these masks on, but we have to start early.
Start early for what? What does that mean, start early?
Start teaching them now that this is going to be a way of life if nothing changes.
So where did that fact come from?
Same common sense.
So you think people are going to be wearing masks the rest of their life?
I would hope not.
He said if nothing changes. He didn't state a fact. You say we'll be doing this if nothing changes, Trent.
And like I said, I'll encourage kids to wear a mask. If their parent wants the kid to wear a mask, we'll encourage that. I just don't think that we should take the voice away from these parents that do not want their kids to wear masks.
My question is, with the statistics, how many pre-K and kindergarten, Miss Maya, how many pre-K and kindergarten students do we have?
How many students were at Cherry enrolled currently?
Compared to how many?
Right now we have 355 students enrolled at Cherry.
But how many parents filled it out? 100 and?
Let's see, what? Out of 355 students, looks like about half the parents responded.
I think it was 100 and something responded.
It was 54%.
54%?
About half the parents.
54%, okay. Okay.
So, I mean, you know, like I said, I've said my, you know, my 2 cents. We can sit here and argue, I guess, all day, and I don't want to do that, but.
No, it's no argument. I mean,
Well, you know what I mean. Debate it. I use the wrong word. Debate it. Yeah.
Yeah. We got to start using the right words no more. Last time we said we spent too much time on it and we didn't make a decision. We said we were going to take a vote on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
The vote looked pretty much dead center. So we're going to have to do what people elected us to do, and that is make a decision, right? So it's no need in all that. But at the end of the day,
and that's exactly what we'll do when everybody gets everything out that they want to say on this subject. So is there anybody else that wants to make a comment?
I'll just add, and you know, I thought about the pre-K and the 1 and 2, and I think what makes most sense is, since we already have those kids isolated on their own campuses, is to just go ahead and say that they're not wearing masks. And I just want to apologize to, you know, the teachers ahead of time, because I can already see where the vote's going. I mean, we already know where this is going. And you know, 3 years ago, we changed the dress code and we asked teachers, and they spent a good part of the morning making sure kids didn't have hoodies on or were wearing their shoes and tied and all whatever was in the dress code. And then last year we put student IDs, and I spent days up there as a watchdog, and I watched teachers having to refer students to the office just over and over. And the first thing they did every day was 2-3 minutes of the day was just spent making sure they have IDs. And now we're asking kindergartner teachers to make sure kids wear masks all day. And when they take them off and refuse to wear them, what's going to happen to those kids? They're going to get referred to the office, or, you know, the principal's going to have to get involved. And so the number's not half of the day, Jerry. It could be more, it could be less, but it is definitely more of their day right now is going to be spent on policing these masks, especially at those 4 grades, pre-K, 1 and 2, than what they're spending now. And that's the most important and formative years of these kids' lives. I mean, you've got to get them off on the right track at pre-K and K, 1 and 2, if you want them to be on a good track. Otherwise, they're going to fall behind, and there's going to be all kinds of other issues. And so I'll leave my piece there. I think it makes sense for pre-K, 1 and 2, just to go ahead and follow the governor's mandate there. Grades 3 through 5, that campus is all together. Put the masks on. You know, we're going to have other issues outside of this. You know, there's going to be parents coming out of the woodworks, and their kids have anxiety and asthma and diabetes and just whatever the kids have, and they're going to have medical reasons not to wear a mask, and we're going to have to navigate those too. But those campuses, I mean, I'll leave it there.
So this question might be for Dr. Scott. So if the kid, let's just say a kid, you know, refuses to wear his mask, do we know what those consequences are going to be?
I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
I mean, if we're taking a vote to make sure kids wear masks, you know, I feel like that's something we should probably.
Let me make some statements about some of the comments that were made, because this isn't about policing students and having them wear masks all day. That's not what this is about. Anybody listening to this, and those of you who are on here, it would not make sense for you to believe that a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old would spend their entire instructional day with a mask on. 1, that's not developmentally appropriate. 2, it's not going to be appropriate for instructional purposes. That's not it. You're going to have, as one of the teachers sent, and I spoke about this last time, when teachers are teaching phonics, you can't do that with a face covering on. You may have to wear one of the shields or something, but you can't do it with a mask on. So that's not what this is about. The other part of this is too, for me, I'm not trying to, I didn't make a recommendation for this to be a blanket statement to where every single kid in pre-K, they're going to wear masks all day long. That's not what this was. This was to give the teachers who are in those classrooms an opportunity, like we all push for them to control most of the instructional environment that's going on. So if I'm a teacher and I'm a pre-K teacher, I have my mask on, I want my kids to have their mask on, well, that should be a teacher's right. If I'm a pre-K teacher, I have my mask on, but I'm not concerned about the kids wearing masks. That can be the teacher's right as well. So some flexibility within this policy, within this protocol that we're putting in place, just to give the teachers options so they're going to be comfortable. Neither one of us on here, nobody on the school board, the superintendent is not going to spend 6, 7 hours in the classroom with these kids. The teachers are. So I just think it would be beneficial for us to give the teachers some leeway in this process. That's why I put forth the recommendation. No, a first grader, a kindergarten or first grader will not wear a mask all day. You can't even do that and accomplish the instructional goals that we actually have. It just wouldn't work.
So you're saying that we're not requiring all kids to wear masks?
What I'm saying is the policy was written where the expectation is going to be for all kids to wear masks. The teachers will have an opportunity when those kids are in their classroom. This isn't where if you don't wear a mask, we're going to call your parents the first time. The next time you're going to get suspended. That's not what this is about. And I don't even want to make it about that. What I just clearly explained was I think that the teachers should have some choice in controlling their instructional environment and their classrooms.
So what happens when some teachers are hardcore about it and some teachers aren't, and then you got parents that are wanting to switch their kids to different classes because they don't want their kids to work? I mean, I just feel like there's a lot of gray area when we open it up to teachers making that choice over the actual, mandate or requirement.
There are absolutely a whole lot of gray areas in this, Trustee Tim. We've never been here before.
Well, then why don't we just give the parents a choice for the kids under 10? I mean, I don't understand that.
So what happens to the teacher and in their classroom environment? You can give the parents a choice. But if a teacher says, well, I don't feel comfortable in this situation with these kids coming into the classroom without masks on, then what do you do?
So the solution to try to pair up kids that are masked with teachers that, want it, is that not a viable solution if that's the route we wanted to take?
I will tell you, for me, my recommendation, that's not the recommendation that I will put forward. If that's a viable solution that the board wants to vote on and put in place, that's your option. It's your school district.
And so,
but again, I have to make the best recommendation that I possibly can sitting in this position.
Okay. Well, I mean, if that's a way to not require kids under 10 to wear masks, why would we not try to do that?
Not a conversation with me. That's a conversation with your colleagues.
Well, no, I'm asking why you wouldn't recommend that.
Because that's not the recommendation I made based on the data that I have. So okay. Once again, that's my job. My job is to advise you all as trustees, is to run your school district. And if in fact you see something differently as a board, it's within your right to make those recommendations. Please believe we shouldn't always agree.
No, I agree with that.
On some things.
So
I get it.
Hey, and everybody else on the line. So that was one of my very main concerns, was the teacher having a voice in their safety, because they're adults. If they contract this virus, it can be detrimental to them. So I'm definitely willing to agree with, we don't say every single child under 10 must wear a mask at school, but I'm definitely all for it. If that teacher is okay with those circumstances, hey, more power to him or her. But if that teacher's in that classroom with that many human beings and they don't feel safe, that should be that teacher's right as well. Going off Trent's data, the kids are not getting sick from this, but adults are. And so that's what my main concern is, a voice for that adult that's in that classroom with that child. So if that teacher says, I'm comfortable with that, it should be okay with that teacher. And I'm okay with that teacher taking that risk. And if a teacher does not want to take that risk, doesn't feel comfortable, I'm 1,000% behind that teacher for not taking that risk. And so I think the viable solution.
So Jerry, do you feel like, to try to match up kids or parents that want their kids to mask with teachers that want the students to be masked? I mean, do you feel like that's
going to be a lot of extra energy? Remember, we talked about.
I get it, but we're trying to give everybody a voice. I mean, yeah, everything's going to be a lot more work during this time. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. But the same thing you're saying earlier, And from the emails I was reading, all the extra energy to police them, send them to the office, remind them, and all this type of stuff, right? Let's just go with that. That way, we're not putting anybody at risk that's not willing to take that risk. And the ones that don't have such a conservative approach to it, right? They have their right as well as a school teacher, because at the end of the day, it's not me that's going to be in that classroom. It's going to be that man or that woman that's in that classroom with those children, and want them to be safe, right? And if along the way, if we have to huddle up and call a different play, guess what? We'll huddle up and call a different play. But I think this is a great play to start us off with, to get ourselves going to a successful school year. And yeah, that's kind of my thought process on that. Yeah.
I do want to interject something that we just need to be realistic in that sometimes that may not work. If you decide to match up teachers and students, and I'm going to give you an example. For example, if we have 2 bilingual kinder programs and both of those teachers do not want to wear masks, then you may not have a place for those bilingual students to go if their parents do want masks. There are going to be some exceptions to this rule, that it's not going to be clear cut matching up teachers with students in all situations.
So that was going to be my point as well, to chime in, is that you're going to have some kids who are going to come to school, they can't wear masks. They have medical conditions to where they're in kinder, they're in pre-K, and they can't wear masks. We're going to have to make some exceptions and some accommodation around those things. So this isn't going to be clear cut once again that everybody's going to wear a mask or everybody's not going. It's not going to go that way, because you're going to have some exceptions here. Folks who have health concerns, you're going to have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that when we put it out there that, you know, Bay City ISD is the only district basically requiring kids under 10 to wear masks, and all the other districts around us aren't. I mean, that's because when you say required, I mean, that's how they're going to see it. They're not going to see it as, oh, but they're going to allow these exceptions.
I think we're leaning toward teachers' discretion. I think we left the whole, they're going to have to wear a mask, 10 and under, no matter what. I think we've left that. We've listened during this meeting. I know I have. I've left that, right? I'm okay with teachers' discretion. Trent, I see your point. Dr. Scott, I see your point. James, Bob, Frankie, I can see what you're saying. And I just think that's a viable solution. So we might well leave the whole 100% no mask and 100% with a mask. We might well leave that alone. We got something we can work with right here, I believe, and that is teacher discretion.
I've just got a general question. So do we know how many students are staying at home virtually? And how many, do we have an idea from early enrollment numbers what the percentage is?
Yes, sir. As of this morning, we've got about 650 to 675 students district-wide that have registered for virtual.
Okay. And how many have registered for in-person?
The rest of the 3,700, so a little over 3,100, yeah, students have registered for in-person.
That want to go to a campus?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Scarmire, you may want to think about that. Some parents may be waiting for this meeting to be over to make a decision as well.
Very true. Very true.
Do we have the mandate that if they participate in extracurricular activities that they got to come to campus? Is that in our order? So our
No,
students
sir.
going to be able to come face to face with other students, but then learn virtually. And so
That's correct. Virtual students can participate in before or after school extracurriculars.
Anybody else? So now to Trustee Scarmire's comment there, I don't know which way you're leaning on that, but we left the language for this action item broad enough to where if that's something that you want the board to talk about, something for the board to consider, you can add that as well. It's a part of our back to school entry plan.
the only reason I asked is it just doesn't make sense that parents would send their students into close contact situations, but then they don't feel safe enough to send them to a classroom. I mean, I don't know why. It is, you know, that they're going to get the best education in a classroom, you know, in my opinion. And I think anytime we can encourage that, you know, if it was a matter of not wanting that student to be around another student for whatever safety reason, then, you know, why would they be sending them to football practice where they're just touching and sweating on each other, and choir where they're sitting real close to each other and they can't wear masks in choir? And so those, you know, those, it just didn't make, I just didn't understand. That's why I asked.
Yeah. So
that's going to happen yet, right? But again, that we're just assuming that that's probably going to be the case because we don't know that that's happened yet, right?
Yeah.
So one thing about that, Trustee Scarmy, is that it may not necessarily be afraid of COVID. I mean, realistically, there may have been some social interactions in school to where parents they may be taking advantage of this opportunity for their kids to learn virtually versus going in person, but they still want them to participate in the extracurricular program. May not necessarily be COVID.
No, that makes perfect sense. I see your point. And I wasn't for it one way or the other. I just wanted to have that brief conversation. So I appreciate that.
I got a quick question too. Kind of on the same thing, but are we going to allow, I guess, the teachers that want masks, are they going to be allowed to just lead strictly virtual classes, or how are we going to do that?
Say it one more time. What's the question?
The teachers that want masks, will one of our solutions be, you know, the teachers that want everybody masked up, one of our solutions to be to allow them to just teach virtually, or will they have to teach both no matter what?
God, well, that's going to come down. That's going to come down to your board policy and how that's actually written. Because I mean, if you just want to put it cut and dry, then the teachers have to meet the responsibilities of their contract, whether that's in person or whether that's virtually. We won't have, and we talked about this earlier with the principals and executive team. We won't have a position or enough coursework for one teacher just to teach all of the virtual classes. If I'm responding to your question the right way,
right?
Because it was a question that I posed earlier, and right now we don't foresee a teacher just being able to not be on campus or not interact with kids and just teach only virtually.
Yeah,
it's almost an impossibility.
I think understanding your question, if I'm a third grade teacher and I'm gonna require my students, if I'm a first grade teacher, I'm gonna require my students to have a mask in my classroom, and I have a child that's assigned to my classroom, and that child's parent don't want that child to be wearing a mask, what's gonna be my option as a teacher? I think that was your question, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm trying to, you know, I understand the concerns of some of these teachers. I'm trying to figure out if that would be an option for us to allow that teacher to teach the virtual side of school instead of in person.
Yeah.
I think our challenge is, Mr. Tenen, right now, looking at our numbers, those 700 students are spread across all of the grade levels.
Right.
So unless we have a great increase in the number of students that want to participate in virtual, we won't have enough in one grade level or in one section for that teacher to have just totally virtual students. And our challenge secondary is that those teachers, a teacher to do virtual all day would have to have multiple certifications. We wouldn't have 8 sections of biology. A biology teacher could not just teach virtual all day long.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're just talking about the elementary school teachers. I mean, because all the other students are required to wear a mask. So.
Right. And speaking to your position of right to choose, Trent, to me, it makes good sense as far as if we say they have to wear a mask under 10, they don't have a right to choose. If we say, you know what, under 10, you ain't got to wear one, I don't think that's a right of choice for that school teacher. That's why I really lean towards that school teacher having that right in their classroom.
Yeah, and just another question. I mean, I'm sure we don't have the answer for this yet, but what happens when we come and have a situation where, they have a couple kids in their class that have medical excuses and they don't wear masks and the teacher feels uncomfortable? I mean, I don't know if we even know.
Yeah. Dr. Scott kind of addressed that already in that those special situations, we'll have to deal with those as they come.
Right. I'm
Right.
talking about what choices will the teachers have, I guess is my question, just to kind of put it out there.
Once again, we're probably gonna have to cross that bridge when we come
Right.
to it, but I don't think you have. If you're talking about 1 or 2 teachers, there may be something unique that we could possibly do. But if you have more than that, then you're gonna run into a personnel issue to where you can't just start creating these, what I would call one-off instructional opportunities for everyone. Then we won't have anybody to teach the kids face to face.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think about, you know, everything that could possibly happen and try to think about solutions. I mean, I know some of them may not make sense in reality. I'm just kind of talking through it, I guess, as we're talking.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff you're talking about, our team has been talking about. I mean, we've been going through the exact same thing, from the people in Central to the principals. And I mean, we've all put our heads together and with the what ifs. And you just don't know until you get there. Because
Right.
1, you have a policy that's in place, but 2, this is not a normal situation. So then there are also some exceptions for leave and time versus COVID versus what your board policy says. So quite honestly, until we experience something like that, and we're trying to plan for it, but it's kind of hard to plan for the unknown.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So we're not gonna have all of the answers. If we come expecting to have every single answer and this is where it's gonna be, man, we're gonna be on this Zoom meeting. We'll be somewhere making some money, right? So I think we got a darn good play call. I think we ought to just call the play and run with it. And when it's time to huddle up, we'll huddle up and we'll call an audible if we have to. So I think we're in a good spot.
So my question for the board is, excuse me, like what's the language? What language goes into our documents, so our parents, our community, our teachers, our students will have a clear understanding of the decision that we've actually made?
I say the language should be 3rd grade and up, masks are required, as we have aforestated, and 2nd grade and under, that's going to be at the teacher's discretion.
Okay, so now the question that's been burning in my head is, you know, and I'm sure it's burning in Trent's head. What if a teacher wants to require masks in their class, and my students in that class and 10 or 15 other students, because we know a majority of pre-K and K parents don't want their kids wearing masks. You're going to have at least half the class in one of the teacher's classes that teacher wants them to wear a mask, kids, parents don't, and are you just going to transfer them all around until we get them all situated in the correct classroom, because it's at the teacher's discretion? So we're going to wait until class starts. That teacher's going to say, my class is a mask class. And then the parents are going to say, well, the other kindergartner teacher is a non-mask class, cannot transfer over there.
And then we're going to run across a situation. You can only have a certain amount of kids in a classroom at a time, right? That's number one. Number two, we don't even know if we're going to have that problem because we're on uncharted ground, right? We got to give them a chance. We got to make a decision, guys.
So Bob, how does the vote read, Bob?
How does what?
How does the vote read? Like when we're going to make a vote tonight, is there a wording? Is there a verbiage that we're going to vote on?
Right? You're going to make a motion. Someone's going to second it.
So what you'll actually do at this point is just take action on the recommendations that were made for the plan. Which is why I'm asking you all, what are you saying we should write in the plan regarding mask? Because that was the only issue that the board had a concern with, was the mask part.
I would just say, that we're going to follow the governor's orders, and any child under 10 is not required to wear a mask. And that, if I was going to make a motion, that's what I would say.
And if I was going to make a motion, I would say a child 2nd grade and below is teacher discretion. 3rd grade and above is required.
Okay, so President Klepak, do you mind if I kind of jump in here?
Well, go right ahead.
All right, so this is probably a unique situation. Well, it's a unique situation for this board, to where you can present as many motions as you want to, and you either vote them up or you vote them down. So that it doesn't necessarily have to be one motion. Trent, you can make the one that you just said. Jerry, you can make the one that you just said. If James comes back with a different one, he can make the one that he says, and the board just has to take action on it. The board just has to vote on it until the administration is given some direction of what's going to be in the plan. And whatever the board decides, that's what we put into the plan, and that's what we implement. So you can have multiple motions.
Dr. Scott hit on a word earlier called flexibility. And I feel sure that, if things aren't working quite like they were expected to, that, there could be some changes or recommendations made. I mean, the administration would surely let all of us know if things are not working the way they were intended with the mask situation. Is that not correct, Dr. Scott?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion to not require any child under the age of 10 to wear a mask based on the governor's mandate, and leave it to the parents' discretion on making that decision.
Okay, a motion been made. You heard the motion made by Trustee Tennant. Is there a second to his motion? Is there a second to Trustee Tennant's motion? Is there a second to Trustee Tennant's motion? Not hearing a second to Trustee Tennant's motion, his motion has failed. Is there another motion?
Yeah, I move that we require, as governor mandates, children 3rd grade and above, masks are required. Children 2nd grade and below, at teacher's discretion, whether or not they wear a mask.
My screen froze. I missed everything. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Trustee Scardamine?
Yes, I've been rebooting for the last minute. I missed everything in the last minute.
I can repeat that.
Is it possible for me to repeat my motion if he's been out for that long?
Well, since he's had technical difficulties, I would say yes. Okay.
So I'll make a motion that we not require masks for children under the age of 10 and follow the governor's mandate, and leave it to the parents' discretion to make that decision for their child under the age of 10.
I second that motion.
Okay, so Trustee Tennant's made the motion, is seconded by Trustee Scardamine. So we'll take a vote on that. Klepak, no. Cole?
No.
Manning?
No.
Nelson? Coach?
Coach, you're muted.
Coach, turn your speaker on.
No.
DeWitt's absent. Scardamine?
Yes.
Tennant?
Yes.
Trustee Tennant's motion has failed by a vote of 4-2. Is there another motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we follow the governor's mandate and require children 3rd grade and above to wear a mask. Children 2nd grade and below, it's at teacher's discretion whether or not those children wear a mask in their class.
Okay, you heard Trustee Manning's motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I second the motion.
Can we have discussion before we vote?
Yes, seconded by Trustee Cole. Is there any discussion?
That's not following the governor's mandate. Can you reword your motion?
All right, I reword the motion. How about this? 3rd grade and above, we're going to require children wear a mask. 2nd grade and below, we're going to leave that at the teacher's discretion. That's my motion.
Thank you.
Okay, with that correction and a second to Trustee Manning's Motion by trustee Cole. Is there any other discussion?
So I just want to clarify that we're leaving it to the teacher's discretion and
No, I
not the
wanna-
parents, correct?
That is correct. That's what it
Okay.
says.
Let me out. Okay, so what you're saying is that we're not gonna mandate them to wear the mask from the second under. The teachers make the discretion.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but what if we mandate them to wear the mask and the teachers, see, that's not gonna, I don't know. That's gonna be sticky.
It all is. It's coronavirus, baby.
But I'm saying if,
We can't put something in the policy that the teachers have a choice whether or not to follow that policy.
right,
That's what I'm saying.
Not how it works.
what?
That's not really how it works. I mean, we can't do that.
Well, I know that, that's why I'm asking.
Right.
Do we, so we're saying that the kids second and under, they don't have to wear a mask. That's the
Except
teacher's
te-
discretion.
Correct.
Does Dr. Scott, does that follow along with your philosophy on this whole
No,
thing?
Well, I probably need I was going to ask a question about this. So if the parents if the parents want to send the kids to school with a mask on, you can't. We're not gonna stop that.
Right.
So that's gonna be up to the parent, right? If the teacher in the classroom, from my perspective, if the teacher in the classroom wears her mask or his mask, and they don't have a concern with, let's say 5 or 6 kids come into their classroom without a mask on, that's the teacher's discretion. That's okay. The teacher can make that decision. She can have 10 of them with the mask on, 5 of them without, because she's just fine with however they come. If none of them come, she's fine. If another teacher says, well, no, I want the mask for my safety and for my kids' safety, when the kids come into the classroom, I would feel more comfortable with them wearing that mask, then that's where the teacher's discretion comes in. And again, we're talking about the lower grades. It's an impossibility. I will continue to say this, and I've gotten this from teachers and feedback from them. Those little kids cannot wear masks all day. I get the it may not necessarily be comfortable for anyone to wear a mask all day. I get that one. But instructionally, there are some strategies that the teachers are going to have to use to where they're going, phonics, again, I'll go back to phonics, so where they're going to actually watch the kids say words. The teacher's going to have to wear a mask, him or herself, not a mask, but a face shield, as they're pronouncing words as well. So it's not going to be this 100% of the time instructionally to where kids have the mask on. That's where the discretion comes in around the safety piece, but instructionally, you're not going to be able to stay there. There's no way that a kindergarten teacher can teach a kid how to read if he has a mask on and the kid has a mask on all day. It's impossible. Well, I've never seen it.
Well, I mean, with that said, I mean, then why are we saying it's a requirement if we know that it's a requirement that is impossible to follow? I don't understand that.
I don't understand your question, because that's what
So,
the
I mean,
discretion.
yeah, but whenever the presentation was made about the Black Cat blueprint, and it said that all kids will be required to wear masks, when we know for a fact that's impossible.
So that's why we're coming back to have this conversation.
Right.
I'm not saying anything new tonight that I didn't say before.
Right.
Well, I'm saying something new tonight, and that's the motion I have, Trent. I listened to you, read the emails, the whole lot. I'm taking all that into consideration. I've actually had a change of mind on this deal. Like going into this with an open mind. And so instead of requiring all those children, second grade and below, to be wearing a face mask, teachers' discretion, because I'm worried about the school teacher. I'm worried about the school teacher that doesn't feel safe yet. I'm worried about the school teacher that if they contract this virus, I don't know what's going to happen to them. We're in an unknown state, and if they want to protect themselves, I was put on the school board for the safety of everybody that walked through those school doors, even if they inconvenience. We were inconvenienced when we had people shooting schools and carrying out, and we had the craze training, and we had Officer Cunningham to come in that they got and make a school look like a war zone, right? We were inconvenienced, but we have to err on the side of safety. So here we are dealing with this virus we don't know about. Yes, we're going to be inconvenienced, but yes, we have to err on the side of safety, and we got to protect these school teachers the best we can. I understand some school teachers, they don't worry about a mask, and I can respect that because that's them in that classroom. It's some school teachers, they have a fear of this virus, and I want to make sure that they have their voice as well. I understand how important it is for the parents. Trust me. But the parents aren't sitting in the classroom all day with these babies. It's these school teachers. And I think by meeting in the middle and giving those school teachers the voice to run their classroom in a proper manner, we're doing what we were called to do as a school board in this particular situation. And,
and I'm worried about the teachers too. I don't want anybody to get sick, of course. I mean, I would never want anybody to get sick. But, you know, like I said before, the teachers will have masks on. And by even with your, you know, motion, I mean, we're still going against the governor's mandate. And we're also taking the voice away from those parents that have those, you know, 9-year-old kids that are on that in the 3rd grade or whatever. I just think it's still going against, you know,
that's not true, Trent. You got to quit saying that. You ain't going against the governor's mandate. I already explained that to us. No, it's not.
Jerry, the governor's mandate says any child under 10 is not required to wear a mask.
Not required. There you go. And so
right. You put a grade on it, not an age.
Why? Do you remember why we put a grade on it?
I mean, I remember why we put I remember what was said, but I know that every other district around us is saying no child under 10. You know,
so are we followers? Are we followers?
We're following the governor, which all the other schools are. So I don't know why we are.
So the government says different parts of Highway 35 speed limit is 70.
Oh.
If I don't feel safe going 70, I want to drive 67 miles an hour. Does that mean I'm overstepping the government?
No, but if you drive 30, that's even more dangerous than speeding. So you think you're being safe, but really you're not. So it's
guys, we've already hashed all this out at the last meeting. Now we have a motion on the floor and we have a second to that motion. Does everybody remember what Trustee Manning's motion was?
I do.
Can I repeat your motion, Trustee Manning?
Yes, I'll repeat it again for the 3rd time. I move that we require all students 3rd grade and above to wear face covers in the classroom. All students 2nd grade and below, we'll leave that to the teacher's discretion.
Okay.
I have one question for discussion, and it's not on the topic that they've been debating on. Okay. All right. And it's simply, are we going to accommodate the parents whose it is their wish that their child does not wear a mask and they get placed with the teacher who requires a mask at their discretion in their classroom? Are we going to, excuse me? Are we going to accommodate that parent and try to make those moves within the classroom?
That's not part of Trustee Manning's motion.
It's part of my decision to vote for it or against it. I want to make sure that the majority of the parents, because that's who we're representing here, that don't want their kids wearing masks, that their interests are represented here.
Well, you know, I'll get back to that word again that I mentioned earlier that Dr. Scott said, flexibility. Okay. We need to have something in place for the Black Cat blueprint. And like I said before, you know, they'll probably make some adjustments to it. I feel sure that there'll be adjustments made, but we have to start off with something concrete. And that's what we're trying to do here tonight.
Can I ask this? I guess discussion. Can Jerry's, where he's presenting this to us, could it be where all kids wear masks? All kids. And then we put in that the teacher, is it a way that you could put in that the teacher, some of the teacher's discretion from kindergarten and under? No?
Well, we're gonna have to vote on trustee Manning's motion, trustee Cole. So,
Okay.
do you want to withdraw your second?
Superintendent, are you want all kids to wear masks?
That was my recommendation.
And that's what I want. Now, this part where the teacher can make, you know, adjustments, I'm good with that. That sounds real good. And we'll have to work that out when we cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, I'm saying all kids wear masks.
Yeah. Okay. So from that standpoint, you have a different motion than the one that I'm sorry, President, but
I know that's what I was trying to tell trustee Cole. She could.
Yeah, I understand. I got it.
Okay.
If she wanted to make another motion, okay.
And I'll make another motion.
Well, you can't right now.
Well, right now, right.
Are you still going to second trustee Manning's motion?
No.
Mr. President, can I interrupt because logistically, I just want to ask one question. I understand the motion on the floor, but I just want the board to consider with that, how logistically will we handle, or what is the motion? How does that include buses? Because those students will be on buses without probably social distancing. And I just want to make sure that whatever is voted upon, that we as administrators handle it the way you have voted for that.
And see, that's kind of like my concerns.
Okay, so trustee Manning has made a motion now with trustee Cole's withdrawal of her second. Is there a second to trustee Manning's motion? Is there a second to trustee Manning's motion? Is there a second to trustee Manning's motion? Okay, without a second to trustee Manning's motion, his motion has died. So is there another motion?
Yes, I have a motion.
Okay, what is your motion?
That all kids, everyone wear a mask. But at second and under, it's under the teacher's decision if they want them to wear them in their classroom. Is that 2 or 1? Motions.
I think that's
Well, that's not much different than trustee Manning's motion. Are you basically saying to require all children to wear a mask?
All children, yes.
Is that your motion then?
Because Jerry's was just all children, but I don't know, I'm confused now.
Well, basically said the same thing. You just flip-flopping.
Okay, Jerry, go back again. Okay,
You're giving the control to the teacher. You're allowing the teachers to either say, I know you're required, but in my class, you don't have to because I have discretion. And that's what you're saying. And Jerry's saying, I know y'all aren't required, but in my class, you are because I have discretion. I mean,
okay.
They're doing the same thing. You're just flip-flopping. You're giving control to the teacher.
Okay.
Set policy on it. The teachers will make the decision at their grade level.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Scott, if there's something you see
Tim.
So
that I'm not seeing.
Yeah, I think I heard the same thing. So is there a motion on the floor? Because if not, I have a question.
Well, I don't know. Trustee Cole, did you make a motion or not?
Then it's the same one Jerry made. I'll make the motion.
Okay, so you're making the same motion that Jerry just made.
Sorry, Jerry.
All right.
That's all right, Ms. Cole.
So trustee Cole has made the motion that you all just heard. Is there a second to her motion? Is there a second to trustee Cole's motion? Is there a second to trustee Cole's motion?
I have a discussion question.
Okay.
If trustee Cole's motion doesn't pass, Trent and I have an opportunity to make a motion again.
Okay.
That was my question. Thank you.
Yes. Is there a second to trustee Cole's motion? Okay, trustee Cole's motion has died with a lack of a second.
Can I make a
Is there
motion?
Is there another motion?
Yeah.
I'd like to make the motion that it's at a campus level.
Dr. Scott, did you want to say something? I saw you raise your hand.
Well, yeah, I actually had a question for trustee Scardamine. His question about the flexibility in working with the parents about going to different classrooms. I think he brought that up for a discussion with the mask and no mask. I just wanted to hear his perspective on that.
I think that, you know, if I had a pre-K student and I didn't want them, I have fourth graders, I don't want them to wear a mask. They're only wearing masks because they have to, right? If I had a pre-K or K student and I didn't want them to wear a mask and they get put into a class that the teacher says my class is wearing masks, but the other 3 kindergarten teachers aren't wearing a mask, I'm going to ask that my student get transferred to one of those 3 classes, and vice versa. And I understand that there's parents who have elderly or sick at home, or they're caring for people, and their kid gets into a class and the teacher says, you know what, it's my discretion. Y'all don't have to wear a mask. You're 4 years old. Wear it if you want to. Don't wear it if you don't, you know, but maintain social distancing. Don't touch each other. Let's clean hands. Let's do that. And one of those students, you know, their parent's going to come in and say, hey, that teacher down the hall is requiring masks and that's safer for me. Can you move my student there? Are we going to make those accommodations back and forth? And because if so, then I could be on board with this motion as a compromise. Because they make motions, you know, that don't get seconds or and Trent's got voted down. And, you know, I'm trying to find a middle ground. I understand the age thing is tough because you have 9 and 10-year-olds in the same class. And so, Trent, I'm sorry, but I have to say the age thing is tough for me. The campus thing makes sense to me. First and second graders are all together. Pre-K and K are all together. Don't require masks there. Follow the governor's mandate. It's under 10, you know, but you've got some others that aren't. But as a compromise to them, and that would have been my motion. But as a compromise to the 3 different ideas here, I'm willing to, if the parents' wishes are accommodated, if we take their kids into consideration, then I would be willing to meet in the middle there.
So from my perspective, I don't think that that's a bad compromise. What I would ask is if the principals wanted to weigh in on it. I do think that you're going to have a lot of that happens. If we don't just have a blanket yes or a blanket no, to the point to where even if you create the discretion from the teacher and then parents get wind of just the scenarios that you talked about, I would believe that we should be accommodating as a school district to say, okay, here's where you believe that your kid is going to be best served by the school district because here are the expectations in that class. I don't have a problem with that, but if the principals wanted to chime in, pre-K through 2nd grade, I'm for it. I don't have a problem with it. I think we should be flexible.
You're turning the cameras on, so I know we're going to hear from them.
Yeah, it brought the heat.
I'd love to hear what they have to say. They're the ones administering this whole thing. Campus look wild.
That's right.
Who's got pre-K and K?
No, I'll start the conversation.
We're looking for Roberts and Cherry.
Hi. So my feeling on that personally is right now we've asked parents to give requests. So we've already built our schedules around those parent requests. So one thing our parents need to take into consideration, if we start moving kids into different classrooms with teachers who prefer masks and don't prefer masks, you're going to have to alleviate that issue of not getting the request that you wanted, for sure. That's just the first problem, because we do have a lot of parent requests that come in. So, and then also when we start looking at the different, we make sure that all of our classes are equal as much as possible. We make sure that all of our demographics, academics at every classroom. I mean, when we start moving students around because of a yes mask parent or a no mask parent, it's going to cause a lot of other issues that aren't seen right now at the forefront.
Thank you, Principal Wendell. You're absolutely correct. And these are some of the things I thought about as well. Trustee Tennant, if you look at the bottom of your recommendation, it was really something that I thought about as well. You know, the teacher who wanted the mask and for the parents to do that. I do believe that we'll have some unintended consequences. As a matter of fact, I think we'll have some unintended consequences with this whole process. Academically, we're going to have some. Socially, we're going to have some. But I mean, it's that's one option that we could possibly have. But I mean, as the principal said, they've already created those classrooms based on the data that they had. So now you have to go back to a parent to say, well, okay, this teacher is not going to implement the mask policy as you wish. So at this point, do you want to go to teacher B's classroom, because they will implement the mask policy to your liking? I don't have a problem with that. But again, as the principal said, it's probably going to be a nightmare for them scheduling classes. And I've said to them earlier today that this whole process of the unknown is probably going to be a nightmare for us. But it really and truly just depends on how many kids we're talking about.
One more thing to add to that is that, we start moving kids around classrooms. We're already trying to keep our classes to a minimum size. I can only fit 15 desks in some of my classrooms. And then you have people that want to be moved into certain classes. What if I have 30 kids that want to be in one teacher's class because she's the only one who doesn't wear a mask? Then what do I do about having 30 kids who want to be in that specific class? It just, all of the little things start to kind of add up, and we lose focus on the reason we place kids in classes, and that is because of the academic and educational opportunities that we want to provide for them in Bay City ISD. We can make schedule changes. That we're good at that. It is a lot of back work. We've been doing a lot of work all summer, and we can make those changes if that is the recommendation. But to make changes because of that and not educationally kind of goes against the things that we are here for. We are here for the students and their education and their academics.
Yes.
I agree with Ms. Haig on that. One of the things that I saw that in the TEA guidelines, I believe it was, that we're supposed to provide as much support and safety in the classroom without disruption to the educational process. I mean, I know we're providing as much social distancing as possible within our classrooms with the way we're setting them up. We're providing the shields in some of our classrooms as well. And we're putting those structures in place. But when you start disrupting all the arrangements of the rosters, it gets real sticky. And the point she made about some teachers, I mean, our staff was split half and half with who would want the mask and who wouldn't. But how do you socially distance, like she said, if you have 30 kids that want something and you don't have the staff to support it?
So basically, y'all are saying logistically that wouldn't be a favorable option, correct?
Correct.
Did you hear from the principals on their opinion on the mask period? Is that appropriate? Does the Cherry Elementary principal even think 4 and 5-year-olds should be wearing masks all day, or no? I mean, Dr. Scott, is that appropriate to ask them, or?
I don't think so, but you already put it out there, and I'm trying to gauge her face, because she's kind of tight-lipped right now. I don't even know if she wants to answer. But I mean,
it hadn't answered yet, so that's why I'm asking.
I don't think it's fair to put her in that position.
All right.
Well, Janet, look like you're off the hook from answering that one.
I don't think anybody's in a position or anything. So if they felt strongly aware about it or the other, I'm sure they would have said so by now.
Thank y'all for your input.
Motion on the floor?
We don't have a motion on the floor.
That's what I was asking.
If you'd like to make a motion?
That's what I was asking, yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we have children 3rd grade and above wear face coverings in the classroom. The teachers, students 2nd grade and below, that will be at the teacher's discretion. And we will allow flexibility for parents that have certain concerns, either yay or nay with the mask.
Okay, y'all heard Trustee Manning's motion. Is there a second to his motion?
I think we need to be a little more explicit in the last part of what he's actually saying. I don't have the technical terms for it, but if the board could allow me and the team some time, kind of give us a day or two to talk about what that language is like. What I'm hearing from Trustee Manning is 3rd grade, 3 through 12 mask, pre-K through 2nd mask, the teacher's discretion at that point. However, the school district will accommodate parents' requests to go to their particular, and for lack of a better term at this point, their mask preference instructional environment as best as possible. That's the best I can come up with right now off the top of my head. But that's what I'm saying. So you're adding Trustee Manning's motion, but you're also putting in Trustee Scardamai's flexibility and accommodation for parents in class selection.
So I guess the principals, I mean, when they chimed in just now, basically said that that's not a good solution. I mean, as far as trying to get kids, and I mean, that's just what we heard from the principals. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I agree, but I was just trying to clarify his.
Right, no, I know.
Okay, well, he hasn't gotten a second yet. Is there a second to his motion?
I second it.
Seconded by Trustee Cole. Is there any other discussion?
Might I discuss my own motion?
Yes.
Hey, got to make sure we cover the bases. So, I was understanding. I thought from the principals that it's going to be a challenge, but it's doable. And if I understood that wrong, forgive me, and I'd like to retract my motion. But if I understood that right, then I'd like to go forward with that motion.
All right, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Here?
I mean, I can respond to that just saying then we need to say that parent requests are pretty much off the table and not going to be honored, because it's going to be very hard for us to try to honor parent requests, because I can tell you right now, we've had parent requests for teachers who really, really want the mask mandated. But then I know that we have parents that have requested for their children to be in that classroom. So it's almost impossible.
Okay.
But I thought we didn't do parent request anyway.
No, we've been doing them.
We've been doing it, but was it? I thought they had stopped it.
No, we didn't stop it. We put a protocol in place to where parents had to have a timeline, and we limited the number of requests for teachers.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to retain your motion, Trustee Manning?
No, sir. I want to retract my motion because getting the feedback from the principals, that is definitely not the best option, because we're going to be putting those campuses in not good shape. Like I say, it'll be a big challenge, and we'll be more worried about placing kids around, worried about these masks and putting the kids with the right teachers. And we got enough problems without having to schedule a nightmare to go with it. Some people are just going to have to be inconvenienced. The whole world is inconvenienced right now. We are no exception. No matter what decision we make, we're not going to make everybody happy. So, no, I like to retract that.
Okay, Trustee Manning has withdrawn his motion. Is there another motion?
I'd love to make a motion, but it's difficult for me because I'd love to make the campus-wide motion and say that all pre-K students aren't required to wear a mask and all first and second aren't required to wear a mask, without knowing how the principals feel about that being their campuses, I'm not going to make that motion. So no.
I mean, I guess I can try to make a motion again and reword it to say that I make a motion to follow the governor's orders, and we also make accommodations for, teachers and students as needed. I don't know how else to word it.
That's your motion.
Sure.
Motion been made by trustee Tenen. Is there a second to his motion?
A pretty broad motion. I'll go ahead and second it. I mean, there's going to be a lot of conversation in that one.
Okay, well, seconded by trustee Scardamai. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Scott.
Mr. President, that's way too broad for me and and the principals to interpret. Yeah, that would.
And basically, I just want to make sure that we, make accommodations for teachers that are concerned or parents that are concerned the best we can. Like we said, it's going to be hard. But as a school district, we just have to do our best to make accommodations for those parents or teachers. And if we're following the governor's orders, I don't think anybody's going to discredit us for doing that. I mean, that's what every district around us is doing. If we're worried about teachers being upset, I mean, there may be some teachers that are upset. I'm not sure, but there's teachers in other districts. I don't think that anybody's leaving or anything like that on those other districts that are not requiring kids to wear masks under 10.
To Trent's point, the precedent's already been set. Every district in our county has already just said, students 10 and up, follow the governor's order, wear a mask. Students under 10 have an exemption. So that's.
The push around this is that's not all school districts in the state of Texas, though. I get that's the school districts in Matagorda County, but you do have, for the record, you do have school districts who are requiring masks from pre-K to 12.
Yeah, I'm just talking about, our local population, our demographics here. So.
Yeah, that's why I worry about our demographics here. Looking at that CDC website, and I'm telling you, minorities, Hispanic, and Black people, for some reason, are a lot more susceptible to this disease. And looking at the demographic and the population of our district, I worry about that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Without any more discussion, we'll take a vote on trustee Tenen's motion. Clepack, no. Cole?
No.
Manning?
No.
Nelson? Turn your mic on, coach. Nelson?
No.
DeWitt not here. Scardamai?
Yes.
What'd you say?
Yes.
Tenen?
Yes.
Okay, trustee Tenen's motion has failed by a vote of 4-2. Is there another motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we have children that's third grade and up wear face coverings in the classroom, second grade and below at teachers' discretion. That's my motion.
Okay, that motion. Beg your pardon?
Is that the one you retracted before?
No, the one I retracted was to allow flexibility for the parents to switch classes. So I took that out after listening to the principals. I saw that was not viable. So that's my motion. Third and up mask, second and below teacher's discretion.
Okay, a motion been made by trustee Manning. Is there a second to his motion?
Can we discuss just for a second?
Yes.
So just to clarify, the motion is taking all privileges or rights away from the parents as far as what discretion from the parents as far as what they decide, correct? We're leaving it up to the teachers, not the parents.
Yes, and because the teachers are the ones that's in the classroom, the teachers are the ones that's going to be exposed to that many human beings, and the parents are not going to be in a room surrounded by that many human beings. And I think that those teachers should be able to have a say in their personal safety.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that we're taking the choice away from the parents on that motion.
I said what I said.
Okay, no, I just want to clarify.
Yeah, you can clarify what you want. I said what I said. That's what I meant.
Okay, motion been made by trustee Manning. Is there a second to his motion? Is there a second to trustee Manning's motion? I'll second trustee Manning's motion. Is there any other discussion? Let's take a vote. Klepak, yes. Cole,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Nelson,
No.
DeWitt not here. Scardamai,
No.
Tenon.
No.
Okay, it was 3-3, so the motion failed. Is there another motion?
Coach, what you got to say about this?
I'd say we all wear masks. And that will help the teachers out, because what we're talking about is a nightmare for a teacher and a counselor. Moving kids around, that's a nightmare. And with this stuff that we have, that's almost impossible.
Coach, we took that out of that last motion.
What, did everybody wear masks?
No, that we'll be moving people around and causing a nightmare for teachers and principals and scheduling. We took it out of that motion the second go around.
Okay, well, as being in the classroom, you got to be able to manage your classroom. You want to put the parent in there. Ain't but one person in there managing it. That's the teacher that's managing the classroom.
That was the motion, Coach.
No, that didn't sound like that. The motion didn't sound nothing like what I just said, because I said have taken absolutely control of your classroom.
I know, that's what I said, Coach.
The teacher has to be, it's called classroom management. He has to be able to manage his class. So what I'm saying to the board, we pay these people all this money, let them manage their classes. We got a superintendent, let them manage. We trying to take it away from them. When we take what power they do have, all right, we got chaos. Because as a teacher in my classroom, can't a parent run my classroom?
Yes, sir. That was the motion that was on the floor, was teacher's discretion. That's what we said.
I ain't heard that.
I don't know how you missed it. We can put it back. And
I said all wear a mask. We didn't hear. I ain't heard that one.
Oh yeah, you didn't hear that one. You said discretion. Teacher run the classroom.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want all.
That's exactly wrong. The first thing you got to have in your classroom is order.
Put a motion on the floor, Coach.
Well, I make a motion that everybody wear a mask, so we won't have no problem.
Okay, a motion been made by trustee Nelson that masks are required for everybody. That's PK through 12. Is that your motion, trustee Nelson?
That's the motion.
Is there a second to trustee Nelson's motion? Is there a second to trustee Nelson's motion? Is there a second to trustee Nelson's motion? Trustee Nelson's motion has failed for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
The closest we've come so far is pre-K, K1 and 2 not wearing a mask unless at the teacher's discretion he or she decides that that class should have a mask. And I see a sticking point for me is being the flexibility. And so what I would like is for teacher requests to be honored for parents, and it's more along a health decision, not an academic decision. But if I don't want my pre-K student wearing a mask all day, you know, and I feel that they're going to be healthier in a class where they're not required to wear a mask all day, then I'm going to make that health decision for my child. Understand? Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Just keep in mind, remember, like, child is not going to be absolutely stuck in a mask for 8 hours of a school day.
Yeah. Which is another difficult thing for me to process, because then why even wear the mask when everybody's running around a mask, breathing on everything, everybody's touching everything. We got pre-K students that can't keep their hands to themselves. First thing they're going to do is run in and hug each other because they hadn't seen each other in 9 months. And so if we can socially distance them and not have them wear masks, and if the teacher in that classroom says, you know what, I just got to have my class be safe because of my personal situation, you know, and there's a parent or two that in that class doesn't want their student in that class to be in that situation, then, you know, I think we should honor that. And I apologize to the principals for even putting this motion on the board again. And I'll say, I'm sorry, I make a motion that we require students 3rd grades and up to wear a mask, and that we leave the discretion to the teachers at pre-K 1 and 2, and that we honor parent requests to place their child in the appropriate classroom.
Okay, you heard Trustee Scardaba's motion. Is there a second to his motion? Is there a second to his motion? Is there a second to his motion? Trustee Scardaba's motion has died for the lack of a second. Is there another motion? I'm going to make a motion that we follow the Black Cat blueprint as prescribed by our administration and our knowledgeable administration superintendent. Everyone who met, collaborated, and discussed all of these different concerns, that we follow what was placed in the Black Cat blueprint, as I'm sure that there'll be discretion and flexibility as that comes off the ground. So that is my motion. Is there a second to that motion?
I second it, Bob.
All right, there's a second by Trustee Nelson. Is there any other discussion?
Bob, only discussion point I have is that's a pretty broad motion, and I have another specific point that I wanted to discuss, not related to masks, that is in the Black. So going back to school 3 weeks early, is that in the Black Cat blueprint, or 3 weeks later, or is that outside of the Black Cat? Was that separate? Dr. Scott.
It's a part of our plan, but it doesn't have to be approved by the board.
What do you mean?
It's all the flexibility of going back to school 3 weeks or 4 weeks is already laid out by the governor and the commissioner. So that doesn't necessarily have to have the vote of the board.
Yeah, it allows, right, it allows us to, right. So, okay, I just wanted to have a discussion around that, but is that outside?
You all can, because quite honestly, this plan is not really, this is an administrative decision that I brought to the board because I knew all of the contention around it. But by law, this is an administrative decision that does not need board approval. I'm seeking board approval on this because I knew how hot of a topic this was.
So I guess my
question is that if we're following what the governor's saying about going back to its layer, why are we picking and choosing what we're following and what we're not?
What do you mean?
As far as mandate, I mean, you know, as far as like what the governor is saying, like you said that we're not going to vote on that, but for some reason this is a vote, but this is also something the governor has stated.
No, I said you can vote on it. It's not something that needs your vote. You can vote on anything you want to. It's your school district.
Right.
But no.
Did everybody understand my motion?
No, can you repeat again?
Okay, my motion is that masks be required from pre-K through 12.
Okay.
As described in the administration's description in the Black Cat Blueprint.
Okay. Okay.
Now there's a motion on the floor and there's a second to that motion. Is there any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. Klepak, yes. Cole?
Yes.
Manning?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
DeWitt's absent. Scardamai?
No.
Tenon?
No.
Okay, that motion carries 4-2. And it took a while to get there.
So, Mr. President, to Mr. Scardamai's question, because that is part of this plan that I brought before the board. And it's a part of the administration's recommendation to go back 3 weeks instead of 4 that we're allowed to.
And I think at the last meeting, you asked me if 3 weeks was acceptable. And I told you that I didn't hear anything negative to the effect. So
this transpired between that meeting and this meeting. So in just a week, I've been overwhelmed and flooded with calls and emails and comments about that and about why are we doing it? And so I explained it's going to give us more time to get our campuses ready and get things in place. But it's creating a lot of undue hardships on a lot of families. A lot of teachers that are going back to school that are going to be required to be in the school, you know, are now having to find childcare or leave their young child at home unmonitored or with somebody checking in on them, myself included. You know, I have to find somebody to come and stay with my kids all day when that happens. And it might be three weeks, but it could be longer. I mean, you know, it could change because I guess we're authorized to go up to 8 is what I understand from the guidance. So we talked about some sort of maybe soft opening where teachers can bring their kids back. So I just want to make sure that, you know, we have a plan in place, because I mean, there are a lot of financial hardships around that decision. And it's not just families where it's a teacher, it's working families too, where both parents work. And so, you know, they're having to extend the plans that they already have. And so, you know, it's a big decision for even, you know, there's a lot of kids who the safest place for them is to be in school. And we're delaying that 3 weeks. And so I'm, you know, I'd like us to go back to school on August 20th. I mean, that's if that's doable, you know, I think if we can get a campus ready, and then let's go ahead and get it. If we're going back to school, let's just go back to school. You know, we just approved all of our students wearing masks. So I don't think there should be any opposition to bringing students back, since everybody from pre-K through 12 now is now wearing masks, you know, according to the motion that was just passed.
So Mr. Scardamai, in response to what you just said, the principals and I actually spent this afternoon crafting a proposed transition plan to actually move our special population students back and then other grades just as expediently as we can. We have not had a chance to present that to Dr. Scott yet, but we realize that our younger students especially need to be back on campus as soon as possible due to daycare issues. And but we also want to make sure we get all of our safety precautions in place, not just masks, what you just decided, but our procedures for arrival, dismissal, staggered, dismissal, lunch procedures. So we'll present that to Dr. Scott, and I think that will address what you've just discussed as your concerns.
So Lisa, are you talking about a staggered return?
Yes, sir, we are.
Trustee Scartemeyer is talking about a return in person for all students on the 20th.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
Yes.
Somewhere between that and a soft opening, allowing, staff students to come back early. And that, that's just kind of like a dry run, right? You got less students, things are safer. It's going to be easier to bring in that amount of students. You can work out the kinks and then bring it back, maybe the younger population, and then bringing back the rest of them. But yeah, most of the comments are coming from staff and teachers, and it's a pretty big financial hardship for them. And
is that a motion that we can second? Can I second that? Is that a motion? About kids coming back on the 20th? Did you just make a motion?
We're not voting on that.
Oh, okay.
We're not allowed to vote on that.
No. Dr. Scott?
Well, I was just going to ask, because technically that's a part of how we're actually going to go back to school. And again, we asked the attorney, because to Ms. Moya's point, we asked the attorney to give us something broad enough about going back to school. So I know we were coming here for the mask, but as I try to anticipate some other things coming up. So that's why it was so broad. I know it's not a topic that was initially brought up to discuss, but that's why we didn't identify the mask as a part of the motion. We left it kind of broad because, once again, I kind of anticipated that there were going to be some other things that came up since the last meeting, to Trustee Scartemeyer's point. And the one thing that I would ask again is I make the best recommendation that I possibly can, that I believe are in the best interest of students and teachers. However, if the board has a different expectation, if the board has information that I don't have, but that I may not have gotten at this point, and wants to make a recommendation about how we move forward, by all means, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm here for.
It's been 2 hours.
Go ahead, Bob.
Say it's been 2 hours since I looked at the agenda, and I stand corrected. As Dr. Scott said, it is vague. So if we wanted to take care of this topic tonight, I don't see any reason why we couldn't.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm gonna start it off then. I'll make a motion that all of our students go back on August 20th.
I'll second that motion.
Motion been made by Trustee Scartemeyer that all students go back. That's in person you talking about?
Correct. The ones that are going in person. The ones that are going virtual are virtual. The ones that are going in are going in. Right.
They're
I'll
going
second
in.
that motion.
So they're going in person or virtual, correct?
We start August 20th.
Okay. Is there a second to his motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Trustee Tenham. Any other discussion?
Yes, I'd like to get some input from the principals on that.
Thank you, because I want to hear it too, even though I made it.
I'll be honest. I mean, our staff is coming back on August 10th. We have 2 weeks where we are trying to get together a district initiative with our behavior plan. That's 3 days of our time with them. We're coming together to talk about student and teacher needs and getting to know their students, setting up their room at some point between then, having meet the teacher night. We have not even had a chance to talk about what entry points, what exit points, what does lunch look like, what does enrichment look like. We want our students to have all of the normal opportunities that they need to have. And if we do not have time to plan for that, then our students are going to come back to a school that's not ready. And they've already been through that this past year when they had school buildings that were not ready and they were into that. It causes a disruption. And if we're not ready, if we don't have our plans ready to rock and roll, then I feel like we're putting our students at a disadvantage to walk into a place that we're not ready for, we don't have the answers for, we don't know what the procedures are. And to throw our teachers into the mix with our students where there's no plans, that makes me very nervous as a principal.
I like to add to what Principal stated. I'd like also to give an opportunity to Assistant Superintendent Lisa Moya to present with you the plan. We truthfully have been thinking about all these things, and I promise that we have truthfully been considering those the teachers that have kids, and we do have some plans to be supportive with that. We also have in the plan, there's also considerations on how to bring our students that are younger and need the most support as soon as possible. And before I finish, I want to thank you for the dedication and the passion that all of you have for serving our community and our kids. And I thank you all for your time.
With what Ms. Reyes said, and knowing that there's a plan in place to address teachers and staff that have students in the district, I would like to withdraw my motion. And I'll wait and hear what it is because I'm excited. I thank y'all for your diligence in addressing that.
So you've withdrawn your motion, Trustee Scardama?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there another motion? Is there another motion? I'll make a motion that we start first 3 weeks virtual as described in the Black Cat blueprint.
Second.
Seconded by who?
Manning.
Okay, motion been made and seconded by Manning. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I would like to say something. I mean, in the blueprint and what Dr. Scott said is that we actually are going to try to maybe do it a staggered start before that 3 weeks. So I don't want to create a policy that says that we have to start at 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. I withdrew my motion just so we could hear the plan that they have in place, which sounds like it addresses a lot of the issues with the delayed 3 week start. That's the hardships that would cause some people versus others. So.
Well, and I think when I made my motion, that's what I was making, the plan that they have in place. Maybe I didn't describe it correctly.
Yeah, no, you said it.
You said it. You said it.
You said it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, yes, to Trustee Tennant's point, I did say the very first time we discussed this that I didn't want to go to the 4 weeks that are available because I want our kids to get back to school as soon as possible. And in the event that we have an opportunity to get them back before we get to the 3 week mark with the data that we actually have, then that's what we're going to do. So everyone on here, President, I know you're making the motion for 3 weeks, but that's with the understanding that if we get all of our systems in place prior to that 3 week period, then we'll start bringing our kids back, staggering our kids back onto campuses.
Okay.
Yes, sir. But the 3 week window gives us some additional time. But again, my last comment at the last meeting was I agreed that school is the safest place for our kids. We just want to ensure that we create the environment within the school that's going to be as safe as possible before they actually enter.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any other discussion?
This isn't a motion for a hard 3 weeks. This is just a motion to allow up to 3 weeks, but at the district's discretion, they can bring it back sooner. Or or in different demographics, or however we want to.
Correct.
Right.
That's what I understand, Jane.
With some flexibility.
Correct.
Correct.
That's the motion.
All right, is there any other discussion? We'll take a vote. Clepack, yes. Cole,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Nelson. Turn your speaker on, Coach. Nelson,
Yes.
DeWitt's absent. Scardemeyer,
Yes.
Tenon.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carried by a vote of 6-0. Is there anything, Dr. Scott, is there anything else in agenda item 2 that we need to look at?
Not from my perspective at this point. What I do believe, though, I don't know if the board wants us to come back and have a discussion around the plan that our teams are working on, or should I just email that to you all and then you can give us some feedback that way? So we'll know how quickly we need to move.
What is y'all's preference?
That's I was trying to tell you. It's my preference that we actually follow that prescription. I think we have the best principals. We have the best teachers and the best superintendent around these parts, and I want to trust y'all with your decision making. You've worked hard. You've done the research. You've looked at the options and what you had to present. Just going on your past, I believe you're gonna have the right and proper plan, and I'm excited to see what you all will bring to the table. And before I take my seat, my virtual seat, just want to say to everybody that's been on this call, it's been long, it's been tough conversation, but I really, really do appreciate us having these conversations and having those disagreements. That shows to us, that shows to the community, we are not a rubber stamp school board. We're actually here and we have lots of different broad ideas and different perspectives, and we're able to bring it all together and come out and make successful decisions for our district. And I'm just super glad to be a part of this team, and I'm taking my virtual seat on that.
Scott, to answer your question, do it as quickly as you can. Just email it. I just like to see an email. We don't have to schedule a meeting 72-hour window and have a discussion around it. I think it's going to address all our concerns. So
I think so.
I agree with the email.
Trustee Tenon, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Trustee Nelson?
I'm good.
Okay, well, don't virtual sign off yet, Trustee Manning, because we have one more agenda item. Item 3, approval of employment of personnel. You're probably asleep, but Ms. Volkmer.
How could I sleep through that? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Administration recommends the approval of the elections as presented in your board book.
Okay, you heard Ms. Volkmer recommendation. Is there a need to go into closed session? If not, is there a motion to approve the employment of the personnel as described in board book?
Make a motion to approve the employment of personnel as presented in board book.
Motion been made by Trustee Scardemeyer. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Seconded by Trustee Manning. Any other discussion? If not, we'll take a vote. Clepack, yes. Cole?
Yes.
Manning?
Yes.
Nelson? Nelson?
Yes.
DeWitt not here. Scardemeyer?
Yes.
Tenon?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries by a vote of 6-0. And we welcome all of those people that are joining our school district. Item 4 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I think you got 6 motions to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made by trustee Scardama. Is there a second to his motion?
I second.
Seconded by trustee Cole. Take a voice vote. Clepak, yes. Cole,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
DeWitt not here. Scardama,
Yes.
Tenon.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries 6-0. We're adjourned at 8:29. Thank you very much, everyone, and good evening.
Thank you all.
Good evening.
Good evening.